There's a kind of loneliness that doesn't look serious enough to matter. You still reply to messages sometimes, you still go outside, you still laugh at things. But at the end of the day, your life feels strangely untouched by other people, like no one has fully entered it in a long time. The difficult thing about this kind of loneliness is that it rarely announces itself clearly. It doesn't collapse your life overnight. It doesn't make you disappear from the world completely. You still function, you still show up, you still have conversations that sound normal enough. And because of that, it becomes very easy to dismiss what you're feeling.
You tell yourself it could be worse. Other people are more isolated. Other people have nobody. Meanwhile, your loneliness settles into quieter places. It shows up when something small happens and you realize there's no one you naturally want to tell. It shows up when you spend an entire weekend half waiting for a message you pretend you don't care about. It shows up in the strange exhaustion of always consuming other people's lives through a screen while feeling increasingly absent from your own. And maybe the hardest part is that you're not lonely enough to panic. You're just lonely enough to slowly flatten out emotionally. That gray zone can last for years.
People often assume loneliness is caused by being alone too much, but sometimes it comes from adapting too well to emotional distance. Humans get used to almost anything, even disconnection, especially disconnection that arrives gradually. At first you notice it, then eventually you organize your life around it. You stop expecting invitations. You stop reaching out because unanswered messages start to feel oddly personal. You become quieter in conversations because somewhere along the way you started assuming your thoughts weren't that important to hear. And after enough time, solitude stops feeling peaceful and starts feeling like emotional background noise. Not sharp enough to interrupt your life, just constant enough to drain color from it.
A lot of people living in this space blame themselves for being lazy or emotionally weak. They think if the loneliness were real enough, they would finally do something dramatic to change it. But the truth is, stagnant loneliness often creates the opposite effect. It lowers your sense of momentum. It makes connection feel like something for other people. People with fuller lives, better timing, easier personalities. So instead of trying and risking confirmation that you really are alone, you stay in familiar patterns that hurt less predictably. There's also a quieter fear underneath it that people rarely admit out loud. Sometimes you avoid deeper connection because you're no longer sure how to exist naturally inside it. Loneliness changes your rhythms. You get used to processing everything privately. You become hyper-aware of whether you're being too much or not enough. Even kindness can start feeling uncomfortable when you haven't received it consistently in a long time. So you remain in this strange middle ground where you crave closeness, but also feel tired by the thought of reaching for it again.
And none of this means there's something broken in you. Some people learned very early that needing others felt risky or disappointing, so they became emotionally self-sufficient long before they actually wanted to. What looks like detachment is sometimes just someone trying not to feel rejected before rejection even happens. The mind is protective like that. It would rather give you numbness than repeated hope.
But there's a difference between protecting yourself and disappearing slowly from your own life. I think that's why this kind of loneliness hurts in such a confusing way, because from the outside, your life can appear completely manageable. Yet internally, there's this growing sense that nobody is really witnessing you anymore. And humans need that more than they admit. Not constant attention, just the feeling that somewhere your inner world reaches another person honestly. Maybe that's why even small moments of connection can feel almost shocking after long periods of emotional distance. A conversation where you don't perform. A message that sounds genuinely thoughtful. Someone remembering a detail you forgot you shared. Tiny things suddenly feel enormous because loneliness was never only about being alone. It was about feeling emotionally unseen for too long. And if you've been living this way for a while, you've probably become harsher with yourself than you realize. You call yourself distant, passive, bad at maintaining relationships. But sometimes people withdraw because they've quietly stopped believing their presence changes anything for others. That's not selfishness. That's emotional exhaustion wearing a calm face. And if this feeling has become your normal, it doesn't mean it has to become your identity. Sometimes recognizing the pattern is the first moment you stop silently building your entire life around it. Maybe that realization arrives slowly, quietly. Maybe it starts tonight.